The New Orleans Saints have their tackle tandem of the future, and who's to say whether or not they're even finished for round one? We got all that and a little bit of lanyap for you on today's episode of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, your friend, Ross Jackson, New Orleans native, your New Orleans Saints expert and credentialed member of the media covering those New Orleans Saints as a Saints beat writer over at LouisianaSports.net and Saints analyst with WWL TV. And on today's episode of Locked On Saints, it's an emergency episode because the New Orleans Saints have made their selection at number 9 overall in the first round of the NFL draft, and they might not be done. But to start things off, the New Orleans Saints might also have their tackle tandem of the future in New Orleans after their first round selection. Here to help me break it all down is my good friend and host of the Saint Squad, Dylan Sanders, who's already rocking the photo of Kelvin Banks Jr., the number 9 overall selection for the New Orleans Saints. We appreciate you very much for making us your first listen and being an everydayer here on the show. Make sure you're coming through and checking out the Saint Squad live every Monday and Thursday morning as well, which includes Dylan Sanders. Dylan, listen, I'm going to start right away with what I think the Saints get in this selection of Kelvin Banks. And I need you to tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I think the New Orleans Saints in this selection might have gotten their future tackle tandem for many years to come.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that is 21. And by the way, he turned 21 like just over a month ago. So
Same.
if I don't think that's true. But if it works out, this is a guy that could really spend the next decade plus on the offensive line. And just because, I guess we'll get into it a little bit, but I think even if he doesn't start out year one at left tackle, I think it makes the most sense that for most of the foreseeable future, he's going to be at left tackle and Fuaga over at right tackle, making them the bookends.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that becomes so interesting is what do you do now in terms of shuffling around your offensive line? When I discussed this potential selection earlier in the day, when I kind of released my predictions, and by the way, y'all, as we're live here doing this, I'm at the Saints facility and Dylan is going to be tracking what's going on in the draft because there's always a chance that something else happens. And so Dylan might cut me off at any time as we go through this, but just a heads up with it. But look, I think the thing that we're trying to figure out now is, and that the New Orleans Saints can figure out now is who are their best 5 starting offensive linemen, and how do you get them out on the football field together? And I think the good news here is the Saints have some time to make that decision. They don't have to do it right away, and they have a lot of ways to do it. But this does feel like it kind of puts, to your point, Trevor Penning on a little bit of a notice.
Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of experience. He's going to come in, play day one, and it feels like his skill set will move over to guard. We talk about this on Saint Squad a bunch. Just because someone says, hey, this guy can play guard, it doesn't mean that they can or will play guard.
Sure,
but
right.
On paper, he looks like a guy that can play guard. That's the bigger need right now. It doesn't feel like that Trevor Penning is safe in the future at right tackle, but that's where it makes the most sense right now. It's the cheapest, most effective way to get a starting 5 this year. Have Kelvin Banks start out at guard, move him over to tackle once the Trevor Penning experiment meets its expected end.
Yeah. And I think at this point, you know that end is on its way. Look, Kelvin Banks is somebody that started 42 games in his career. He's got a lot of experience, missed only 1 game with injury. That was the SEC tournament game up against Georgia, but then came back and played in the college football playoffs. It did not hamper his left ankle injury, did not hamper at all his pre-draft process. And so what you're getting in this player is somebody that can play left tackle, who is a career left tackle, who didn't miss a game until that SEC championship, dating all the way back to his high school days. Steve Sarkisian, his head coach, sent a quote to us through New Orleans Saints media, which they so kindly shared, that basically said that whenever somebody says and comes to him, Coach Sarkisian, what is it that I have to do? What do I need to do to be great? He says, be like Kelvin. That's the guy that the New Orleans Saints just drafted as a team captain, which we know is a thing that they've kind of been in love with over the course of the past few years. I think that there's some good things here. Is it the big sexy pick? No, but I do think that it's something that the New Orleans Saints needed. Kellen Moore has spoken pretty much all throughout the offseason, and we certainly heard this from Mickey Loomis, general manager, on Wednesday as well, that they want to build from the inside out. And Mickey Loomis did allude to the idea that there is a position that they feel like they need to address, but that they wouldn't tell anybody during that press conference, because why would you in a pre-draft press conference? And it feels like offensive line was that unit that they wanted to address. And by extension, finding a potential future left tackle, finding maybe an immediate left guard, this was a way to get it done with that 9th overall selection, with a player that we knew was going to go higher than the media mocks told us they would.
Yeah, and I feel like some people are gonna be like, "Hey, it's not the crazy pick. Is this guy an athletic freak? Go over, search up his RAS score, and then be a little disappointed." But I think this is a guy that plays more athletic than he is in testing.
Mm-hmm.
He's a quick mover off of the snap, and I think that is really what you are looking for out of an athletic testing on a tackle. It's not the only thing, but it's a big part of it, and that's something that looks good on paper. Yep. I think the most that they need to work on with him is technique, which is pretty much how any NFL player is going to be, at least you can hope for. They don't have to turn him into a different, body or play type than he already is. He just needs to better learn how to play at an NFL level.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I think the next thing that you're looking at with him is, where he best impacts the game. And I think it's in the run game. His ability as a pulling guard speaks to that play athleticism, right? That athleticism on tape that you mentioned, that athleticism on the field, as you mentioned. I think that you get that from him immediately. There's some things that he's got to do to improve when it comes to pass blocking, but he's not nearly as raw a prospect in that category as Trevor Penning was coming in 2022. And look, Trevor Penning saw some improvements in 2024. And so now I'm really interested to see this year in Kellen Moore's scheme, which is going to demand a lot of the offensive line. I imagine you're probably going to see a young quarterback. That means the ball is going to stay on the ground a lot, and it should put these guys in an opportunity to be able to play to their strengths. You mentioned his RAS. I think it was like 8.36, if I remember correctly, 8.3 something. It's kind of in that area and everything. And it's not one that maybe jumps out to you, 5.16 second 40-yard dash. But when you watch him on tape and you see the tenacity there, you see him climb to the second level, you see him get ahead of the run game and everything like that. I think that's the space that you really, really see a real opportunity for him to be able to have an immediate impact. The question is, from what position? And the Saints have time to figure that out. Yeah,
and I do want to say, I know this is a guy that, especially at guard, they're going to talk a lot about his run blocking ability. He, guy started true freshman for Texas. That's a, power school that he's playing against the best competition he can play against. He's given up 4 career sacks.
Yeah, right.
Two of them came as a freshman. And there's a guy that he, as an 18-year-old straight out of high school, shut down Will Anderson at Alabama. And I mean, that's something that teams remember, and teams will circle a million times on a draft board as a 100%. Film that they love. And then that has had 2 years to grow, and he's only gotten better.
Yeah, and remember that Will Anderson, NFL teams right now are struggling to block Will Anderson at this moment. And so him doing that as in his first year as a starter is pretty impressive. And again, 42 games played, 42 games started throughout his college career, all of which at left tackle. So we're kind of talking about him potentially being a guard, but I do think he's the future left tackle for this team. You have the opportunity, as you mentioned earlier, Dylan, to move Talaiasi Fuanga over to right tackle and then see what you can make happen on the interior. So it's going to be really interesting to see kind of how quickly that shakes out, or if that's something that kind of happens more gradually over the course of the next couple of years. All right, let's get to our next topic, which is going to be whether or not the New Orleans Saints are done in this year's NFL draft, because I can tell you for a fact that they've been working the phones. It sounds like they've been looking at the opportunity to move up. What are they trying to move up for, and where could that happen? We've got that for you next year as we continue on with this Locked On Saints Squad kind of collab here between Dylan and I, wrapping it up for the evening. We got that coming up for you next. We continue on with today's episode here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Monarch Money is awesome. If you're like me and you've been using all these different apps to track like your budgeting and your accounts and your investments and your stocks and all this other stuff, then it gets a little bit cumbersome at times. So having one app where you can get all of that done all in one, that's where Monarch Money comes in and is an absolute lifesaver. I like to say what Dylan said over on our Saints Squad on Thursday morning, that it's kind of like like having Kai Harley in your pocket in a way, on your phone, right there, ready to get everything taken care of for you. It's like your own personal CFO. So it's a great way to go about things, especially if you're somebody that's also collaborating with others to manage accounts. It makes collaboration super easy, all of that as well. So go and check them out today. You're going to love it. I know I do. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use that promo code Locked On NFL over at monarchmoney.com. You'll get 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code Locked On NFL for half off of your first year. Today's episode also brought to you by our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs wants to help you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster and for free. As a small business owner, you never wrap up your day when you actually clock out, and that's where LinkedIn comes in. The New Orleans Saints didn't need LinkedIn to find their next employee, but maybe you do, and LinkedIn Jobs is there to help you get it all done, and they do it in a bunch of different ways. They have some AI tools that will even help you write your job description for you. You can post your job to your network, as well as that expansive LinkedIn network that's out there. It's no wonder that 72% of small businesses love LinkedIn Jobs because they help them find those qualified hires that they're looking for. Really, really excellent stuff over at LinkedIn Jobs. Make sure you go and check them out today to post your job for free. You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Don't forget to use that hashtag hiring frame as well to spread the word. Let everybody know that you do have a job that's ready to go. So go ahead and check them out. Once again, that is linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And finally, today's episode brought to you by our friends over at Gametime, the best place to go to get your last-minute tickets. I like to use Gametime all the time, especially when I'm out traveling somewhere and I have the opportunity to maybe, have a free evening. I want to know what's going on in town. I open up the LinkedIn, the Gametime app. You can pick the city that you're in and check out all the different events. And one of my favorite parts, because I'm a spontaneous person that doesn't enjoy planning, and sometimes it gets me in trouble, Gametime keeps me from getting in trouble there, because you could save up to 60% when you buy tickets for last-minute sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And with their all-in pricing, which you can toggle on, you're not taken by surprise by a bunch of those different, fees by the time that you get to checkout. So take all the guesswork out of buying tickets by using Gametime today. Download the Gametime app and create an account, then use that promo code Locked On NFL. You'll get $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account and use promo code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. That's promo code Locked On NFL over Gametime today. Download Gametime. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. We are taking a look at what's going on here with the New Orleans Saints, and I think something's happening. Is something happening? I don't know.
Okay, yes. So it's not the Saints, but a team has made a trade up. The Giants are trading up to with the Los Angeles Rams. Sorry, there's a lot of games. So the Texans traded the Texans. Okay, the Texans. Officially, it is
Texas traded with the Giants. Yep. Okay.
Like 3 different teams were called by Ian Rappaport by himself. So the Texans.
So it's the Giants trading up with the Texans.
Yes, the Giants trading up with the Texans. $34.99 and a 2026 third-round pick, and they took. Let's see if
it's got to be a quarterback.
It's a quarterback.
It's got to be a quarterback.
It's a quarterback named Jackson Dart. So Shedeur Sanders is still on the board, and the Giants, one of the teams, every team that has, picked, they're all like, okay, well, they've gotten a bunch of calls. One of those teams is now off the board, and it's the Giants getting Jackson Dart. Wow.
Okay, so this puts us right on target here in terms of what this segment was going to be about anyway. We were looking at, was the New Orleans Saints evening done, and based on that trade, this might mean it's not, right? Like, the New Orleans Saints have a real opportunity here. I don't think they were in on Dart. People loved Dart. I think that they had quarterbacks ranked ahead of Dart, Cam Ward certainly being one of them. I think Tyler Shuck was another one too. And so we'll see if the New Orleans Saints now see that the Giants have already made their move up to, what was that, 25, Dylan, to get there?
25 to take Jackson Dart.
And so now you look at some of these other opportunities. There's the Los Angeles Rams at 26 that are coming up. You're trying to get ahead of maybe some of these other teams like Cleveland, who didn't take a quarterback earlier. Washington Commanders at 29. The Philadelphia Eagles at 32. So the New Orleans Saints took Kelvin Banks at number 9 overall, but it doesn't sound like they might necessarily be done. I know they've been working the phones here. I know they've been trying to move up, and they've had some of these conversations. There were teams calling them for the number 9 overall pick even at some point. And so I think that at this point, like, we don't know that the night is over for the New Orleans Saints. And so I'm really, really curious to see how this all pans out. We might end up having to go live again, Dylan, by the time that this is all said and done. But just for the sake of it's short-term shelf life for those of you that are listening to us after the fact, I apologize, but I am curious if you're moving up for any quarterback at this point. I mean, it's got to be almost tempting to move up for Shedeur Sanders, but I know Tyler Shuck's the guy that New Orleans apparently really likes.
Yeah, I think that there are 3 universes. There's the first where they don't do anything. That's probably the most likely. Is that they
and
stick,
my preference, I'll be honest.
And Ross's preference. Then there's another universe where they pick Shedeur Sanders. Everybody celebrates. I would celebrate. I think that'd be a fun pick, and I think that is a changer in the building for better or for worse. But at this point, it doesn't feel like it could get worse. I guess it could, but Tyler Shuck, I think, in my opinion, would be a complete disaster.
I'll tell you what my 100% best case scenario is right now.
Mm-hmm.
The New Orleans Saints do not trade up for a quarterback at all by the end of the day. My 2 predictions, after getting some intel earlier today, earlier on Thursday, my 2 predictions, even going into the squad show, we were talking dream scenarios, so I had Will Campbell there, but I really agreed with John Hendricks that Kelvin Banks was going to be the guy. And so that was one. And then the other one that I really thought was that I gave as my prediction in a couple of pieces were the fact that the Saints would go after a quarterback in the first round, but wouldn't get there. I just feel like the competition's too much in terms of what's available. The Giants held that 34th overall pick. Saints have to do a lot to compete with that in order to move up. 33rd overall pick. And then now we have another trade up.
Yeah, I was going to say there's another trade up. This one won't be for a quarterback. I mean, you never know with the Atlanta Falcons.
Is it the Falcons? Yeah, Falcons trading up. Yeah, of course, right. Yeah, maybe it is another quarterback.
You never know. They love taking a developmental QB2 with a first rounder. That'd be awesome. But I doubt that's going to be what happens. But the trades are getting busy. I know the Eagles are trying to trade up. The Saints are probably trying to trade. Well, we know they've taken calls at least about trading up in the past. It's shaping up to be a wild into day one.
Yeah. All right. So let's refocus here just for like a couple minutes as we wrap up, and maybe end up coming back. But the Saints taking Kelvin Banks, going back to that, I just wanted to highlight that, like, look, this is a crazy end to the first round. We'll see where things go for them. But the big thing that I'm watching now is, now that they've taken the offensive line, I think they really have a chance, if they don't move up by the end of this round, to take a quarterback at 40 if they want to, because it feels like there's going to be opportunities for them to be able to take a quarterback that's just going to be sitting there for them at 40 potentially.
Yeah, and again, I think it's a much easier pill to swallow if it's a quarterback that you don't like, to then be like, okay, I guess I'll take one of these guys like Tyler Shuck. I think it's a little bit easier to swallow at 40, as opposed to now leveraging even more future capital towards a quarterback that doesn't, jump off the page. I think a guy like Shedeur, or even a guy like Jalen Milroe, in my opinion, would be a dream. Again, we're talking about dream scenarios this morning. That would be a dream scenario at 40, to be able to not have to leverage any future stock, and then get a Shedeur or a Jalen Milroe, have that, have QB2 at that point, but also be like a guy that could eventually, or even from day one, be your starting quarterback.
Yeah, 100%. That's I meant to say that, like, part of my perfect scenario here is that they don't trade up, and then all of a sudden at 40, they luck into another quarterback that they really like maybe a Jalen Milroe. Like, Jalen Milroe would be the guy that I would roll the dice on, because at the very least, I get one of the most dynamic athletes in the NFL. Damn, if he plays quarterback, like, I get one of the most athletic guys in the league. Like, I'm all about that. But I think that there is a lot that we could see the New Orleans Saints do as they wrap up the night. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to wrap this up for people that are listening after the fact. Dylan, you want to stay live for a little while longer, just in case something happens? Let's do
fine with
that. So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to wrap this up. I'll be back. Maybe if we end up having we might end up doing another fresh episode based on, what happens here. We might just do it in this. And then, so that will be back. And then if nothing else, I'll be back to preview day 2 coming up tomorrow morning, kind of early afternoon. So we'll have that coming up for you. Thank you, Dylan, for joining us for this. Everybody that's watching, stay here. We're going to keep on with a live show, but we appreciate everybody that tuned into the show afterwards. Much more on the way here as draft weekend continues. We thank you very much for making Locked On Saints a part of your day, part of your routine, for saying yes to me and the show. And as always, we appreciate you very much, and you are more than welcome to, if you see me, please say hi. If you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow us on your favorite social media. I'm at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit us up. Let us know how your family's doing. Let us know how you're living. Let us know how your mom and them, the Trust Who Dat Nation, will holla at you. All right, no one go anywhere. Let's just stay. Let's just keep this going for a little while.
Okay, Ross, I want your instant reaction. The Falcons traded a future 2026 first-round pick to move back into the first. They traded a first next year to move back in and get James Pierce.
I mean, I like James Pierce Jr., but didn't they just take Jalen Walker?
Yeah, so I
guess they're going to play Jalen Walker off ball. I mean, they're going after. Here's the thing that I'll say for Atlanta. They've had the fewest sacks. They had the fewest sacks last year. They had the fewest sacks in the NFL over the course of the last 5 years. They've had the fewest sacks in the NFL over the course of the last 10 years. Dylan, they've had the fewest sacks in the NFL over the course of the last 20 years. Now they're finally paying attention to their defense and potentially getting some edge presence here.
Yeah, I'm not a huge. I don't know.
Kind of a good thing the Saints invested in their offensive line, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I'll give a shout out to Saints Block Party at the NFL Combine. They're asking Jalen Walker about where he feels like he fits in the NFL, and he just called himself a ball player and said, "My favorite position is wherever I'm on the field." And I think that's going to be rough to have to face for the next few years. Because I also love Jalen Walker. These are I think our 2 favorite pass rushers in the class have gone to Atlanta. So that's not fun. It makes me like the Kelvin Banks Jr. pick a whole lot more.
That's a big part of it. That's absolutely right. And then let me look. Who did the Buccaneers? Buccaneers took Emeka Egbuka and everything. And then the Panthers went DT, right? Didn't they go with?
No, they went Tet McMillan.
Oh, that's right. They went Tet McMillan. Okay. So so I think that there's a couple of things here. So investing in your offensive line is certainly helpful. We know that the New Orleans Saints are likely to go corner at some point. Maybe we get one of Lance Moore's picks coming up in the second round, or Trey Amos coming out.
I know a lot of people see Lance in our episodes and are like, "Man, come back and play." Mickey's not on the good side right now. I don't think they're going to get him to suit up.
They didn't take Tyler Warren.
They didn't take Tyler Warren. So I think that they're going to have to wait and see. They're going to maybe. I like Trey Amos.
I like Trey Amos too. He's one of my favorite corners in this class and everything. Just big physical guy, all those kinds of things. Man, look, I know the Kelvin Banks Jr. selection isn't the sexiest selection in the world, but this goes directly to what it is that Kellen Moore wants for this offense, whether it comes down to what it is that they're doing, with the run game, building from the inside out, all of these other pieces that they've always talked about. I think all of that is right in line with what it is that the Saints wanted to get done going into this draft. And I think you look at the fact that Will Campbell went, 4th overall, Armand Membu went early as well. And then, Kelvin Banks was the best offensive lineman left on the board. The question is, was he the Saints' best player on the board? I think now they're going to say yes. We're going to talk to them here in the facility here in a little bit. They're going to say that was the guy. But man, it is interesting.
I'll say this: I like the Kelvin Banks pick a lot more than the narrative that's been being pushed of the Josh Connerly thing. And that's nothing against Josh Connerly. I just think that if you're going to go with the young developmental offensive tackle, I think that while Connerly is the big athletic, he'd even be a sexier pick than Kelvin Banks. I think Banks is the better player right now, younger, with more experience and better production in college. I don't think there's much else you could ask for.
Yeah, and both of them got better and better throughout their careers. You look at both of them. Connerly allowed only 5 total pressures in the last 8 games of his career at Oregon. Banks allowed only 5 total pressures in the last 8 games over at Texas. And so both of them had very, very similar things. Literally, the only difference was that Banks gave up 1 QB hit and 4 hurries. Meanwhile, Connerly gave up 4 hurries, but they were all in the same game up against Ohio State. Like, both of these guys produced in a way, and they also both blanked elite edge rushers. You mentioned the early success against Will Anderson in Kelvin Banks's career. You look at Josh Connerly, blanked Abdul Carter just last year. I think you were pretty safe with either one of these guys, but I agree with you. I think Nick was talking about this too. Like, take the guy that's kind of higher right now. And to your point, I think that's what the New Orleans Saints did with Kelvin Banks. Like, if you're going to go offensive line, that's the way to do it.
The Ravens are not going to be a traded pick. Their pick is in.
Okay. So that's what, pick 27?
Yeah.
The Ravens? Yeah.
So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more spots left. And I think that we're going to get at least one more trade up.
Yeah, I think there's going to be another one. I don't know if it's going to be the Browns.
The Eagles
Saints,
are looking to trade up for.
Yeah, the Eagles were an interesting conversation. Like, it feels like they're perfectly fine where they are. Like, stop being so greedy.
Sorry, I looked over at my phone to check the time, and I already forgot that
Kelvin Banks Jr. is your background.
Yeah, I was like, man, hey, listen, I'm having fun. I'm having fun already.
I love it. People say that they hope that we stay live until 32. How many people want us to stay live until 32? We can stay live until 32. I'm down. I might have to stay live until 31 because I gotta make sure I get over to the press conference with Kellen and all them. But
I hope
Dylan
you stay live until 31.
Did I say alive?
No, but I did.
Okay, good. I just said 32. Let's go. I love it.
Stay till the end.
Stay till the end. I love it.
I mean,
oh, Margie, what's up, Margie?
I can stay here as long as I need.
That's right. Yeah, you can roll. Just don't do anything crazy while I'm gone.
I will, guys. Just let you know. Stay tuned until pick 32. Something crazy is happening on the stream. Something crazy is happening on the stream whenever Ross leaves. I'm gonna get him banned.
That might get everybody to stick around. I love it. Oh man. All right. So based on who was left on the board, Tyler Warren, Mykel Williams, Jalen Walker, some of these other guys that were left out there, along with Kelvin Banks. Who would you have gone if not Kelvin Banks?
At number 9?
Yeah. I was just looking at some of the players that were still on the board.
Sorry, I was looking at the Ravens. The Ravens picked up one of my guys.
Oh, who is it?
Malachi Starks.
Shout out to Kevin Oestreicher, locked on. I love it. Shout out to Kevin Oestreicher, locked on Ravens, who nailed that pick then in our locked on mock draft. Absolutely nailed that pick.
Yeah,
I would expensive. Or are they on par for what we needed for the spot? I think they're expensive because you're going to get charged a quarterback tax. I think that's the big thing. Like, you're going to be charged a quarterback premium if you're trying to move up in this part of the draft with so many quarterbacks on the board. Sorry,
I have a question for you. I have a question for you that's not on topic with what we were talking about, but I think that this would be interesting to talk about. Does the market change now that the Falcons traded up, used a first round pick to trade back in from closer than where the Saints were? I think.
Yeah, where were the Falcons? I'm looking. Yeah, check on their original pick because that's a good call.
Let's see. Falcons trade. Falcons. Come on, the one time I need you, Ian Rappaport.
The one time I need you, Ian Rappaport.
It was 46, so it was 46. Okay, so down, but in the same ballpark.
Yeah, but they moved from 46 to what, 26?
It was 26. It was 26 and 101 for 46, 242, and a first. I mean, that's an expensive trade.
Yeah, so you asked the team that you're trading with to move back 20 spots and then move back 140 spots. So yeah, the first round pick is going to be a part of it. Like, you look at the Baltimore Ravens back in 2018, they gave up 52 and then there was a pick swap in the 4th that was about like 20 spots and a future second to get up 20 picks. And so I think the bonus here for Atlanta is that they got another near top 100 selection. So it depends on how they use that. And so I think that might be the part that kind of like raises the price here in terms of them. I can't believe they were willing to give up a future first to get into the first, though.
Honestly,
like knowing that you didn't need to do that precedent wise. Unless they just didn't have better draft picks.
I was gonna say I've had this feeling. I've had two thoughts about that. First, I think that this is not a super deep draft class in terms of top end talent.
Good point.
Maybe there's that. There was that part of it of being like, hey, there's another guy we love. Let's go get him. And also, I've had the same feeling about Mickey Lewis. I'm like, if there's a GM that doesn't feel like they're going to be there in the future if they don't start winning games, I don't see the problem in their mind of leveraging draft picks. If the Falcons go ahead and win the NFC South this year, no one's going to be being like, oh, well, they don't have a first round pick this year. So I guess it is leveraging, but if they're going to lose and have a top pick again, it doesn't feel like this regime's going to be there anyway.
Yeah. I don't know.
At least that's where I would.
I don't think anybody ever said Dart was their favorite. Well, maybe not us. He might not be talking to us. He might be talking.
He was in John's dream scenario draft. Jackson
Dart. That's right. That's right. Yeah. I think Dart's a quarterback that I like, but wasn't as high as some other quarterbacks for the Saints and everything like that. Yeah, it is really interesting. I don't know. I mean, giving up a future first to move up, I wonder. Yeah, I think you're right. I wonder how much that shifts what the asking price is for a team like the Saints trying to move up from 40. Looks like the Lions pick is in.
Ian Rappaport said that Malachi Starks is a high character player. Ian, just say you think he's bad at football.
There was like question marks around Malachi Starks, wasn't there? Like he question marks around him like not loving the game or something like that.
He didn't really test well. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. This has been one of the big. This has been one of those big things that's kind of like on the rise, big time this year. It's been creeping in the last few years, but like when it comes down to character concerns and stuff like that, this whole like does the player love the game thing has been like a big conversation. I feel like a bigger conversation this year than I remember it being in the past.
Yeah. To go back to your point from earlier, I think that I would have taken Jalen Walker at 9.
Yeah.
And I think that is why, because that was my guy. He's been my guy for a while. So it definitely stings a little bit extra to see him go to the Falcons. But
yeah,
I think that still would have been my pick at 9.
I had heard right before or a little bit earlier today that like Walker and Warren were on kind of the short list for New Orleans as well. But I just think that idea of building the trenches and building on the inside out, I just think that was the prevailing thought in terms of alignment and everything like that. And so I'm really interested to see like, okay, well, since they didn't get that tight end, since they didn't get that linebacker off ball / edge rush kind of hybrid linebacker, is there a chance that they go back to the well on those positions at a later time? You know what I mean? And try to find where they could do it, like, David Walker in the 3rd round, like what John mocked earlier today in the squad show. Do you go for a Mason Taylor later on? All that. Like, I think that there's a lot more of that. Hoping for more trench players in the 2nd round. Maybe a Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State. Maybe.
That was your guy.
I do like him a lot. I think he improves your run defense immediately. But I wonder if edge rusher, Brandon Staley, New Orleans Saints' new defensive coordinator, was on WWL radio earlier today before the draft, and he was talking about like the need for speed and athleticism over on the outside and the opportunity to be able to defend like modern day quarterbacks and all those other things, and how important that speed and athleticism is. I wonder if they go and get that guy in the 2nd round. If a Donovan Eziraku falls out of Boston College, like what a dream come true that could be for them.
Mike Green is still on the board. I mean, that is a football player. That is a very, very good football player.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a certain point to where the Saints say, we don't want to trade up for a quarterback anymore. We want to trade up for an edge rusher.
I mean, music to my ears. I think I think I'd be more excited to trade up for a pass rusher right now than a quarterback.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Maybe not Shador. I think I've grown higher on Shador in the recent days.
I like Shador too. Yeah.
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 But
Like I would trade up for Shador, but
yeah.
Ross doesn't
Oh,
run.
Ross, sorry, your guy is gone. The Lions.
Oh, Tyreek Williams.
The Lions took Tyreek Williams.
My heart.
Yeah.
My heart. What am I gonna do? How do you
Sorry.
have how dare you? How dare you, Dan Campbell?
I was gonna say it's Dan Campbell, by the way.
Dare you, Dan Campbell? Don't they also have a Kim McNeil? Like, didn't they steal him years ago too?
Yeah.
Man.
He's one of those guys. He's one of those guys.
Yeah. I like this idea too. AJ says get a late quarterback, focus on the offensive line. I think they hit the focus on the offensive line part for sure. I think that the late quarterback is really interesting. Like, where do you go if Milroe falls? Where do you go if Kyle McCord is there in like the 4th round or something like that, 4th or 5th round? Like, I think that's a really, really big one. Who is that big defense? Oh, that's my other guy, Deion Walker. You didn't get Tyreek Williams, maybe you can get a Deion Walker. I love Deion Walker. 6'7". Tree, almost said tree fitty. He is tree fitty. He is tree fitty. He big. So yeah, that could be a way that they go too.
Ross, this is you feel free to say no because I'm throwing it at you on the stream. What would you feel about doing like a mock draft or something? Like do a live
the rest of the way.
Share screen or anything? Is that possible? I don't know.
We can share screen. I think we should do that. I think we should do that tomorrow, just because I don't want to get too close to when I had a split for Kellen.
Oh yeah.
But here's what we could do. Instead of sharing the screen, here's what I'm going to say. Round 2, pick 40, right? That's what we're going to discuss.
Yeah, sure.
I got a question about if Milroe is there in the 3rd. You should take a shot on. Yeah. Okay. So round 2, pick 40. Man, honestly, if Donovan Eziraku is still there, that's where I'd go. The Boston College edge rusher.
Yeah, I'm looking at these players. Tell me about. I don't know. I that's a guy I did not study very much of, so I want to know what you think about him.
Eziraku, just like one of those like stand-up edge rushers around the edge, super athletic, really productive in college as well. Double-digit sack guy his final season, all that stuff. Just like kind of a screaming off the edge, run the arc, win with bend, speed rusher, which I think would be a good fit for where it is that New Orleans is headed in their 3-4 defense. Kind of like the guy that I looked at right behind James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee, and so he'd definitely be right there for me.
I'm going to stick on the defensive line. I think I'm going to go with a guy that I talked about in the Saints squad. I got kind of yelled at about it, but I still think I like the pick a lot. I'm going to go with Braden Swinson, the Tiger.
Oh, yeah, I remember you going with him.
I'm high on him. I'm a high, I think there are some teams that are high on him, some that aren't. If the Saints are a team that like him, I think he is a good mixture of, we were talking about who is John's pick earlier that's like in the middle. A pick between the old regime and then
David Walker.
Swinson is a bit of that guy. He is 6'5", 270, so he's big, but he is also the stand-up pass rusher that I think the Saints would like. Another version of in the Brandon Staley defense. And that's a guy that I think you might get a little scared looking at his early career in the college because he's not super productive, but he was asked to do more and play on a different side in his senior year at LSU in that defense. And under Blake Baker, he exploded. He was winning constantly. 8.5 sacks his last year, 13 tackles for a loss. He was constantly in the backfield disrupting the quarterback. I'm going to look it up and I'll report back. I want to know what his full pass pressure numbers were. 43 hurries last year.
Oof, that's pretty good. Pretty good, especially at the college situation where you're rotating a little bit more and all those other things. Like, pretty solid.
Yeah. It was, yeah. He was awesome. He's awesome. I like that pick a lot.
I like that. If there wasn't a guy, if like Donovan Eziraku wasn't there at 40, I'd probably go corner. I think there's still some really good corners. It looks like Will Johnson. I mean, Will Johnson still hasn't gone, right?
No, he hasn't.
With his, yeah. So with that being the case, I think there's going to be good corners on the board because the only one that's gone so far, aside from Travis Hunter, has been Jahdae Barron, who went to the Denver Broncos. Guys like Trey Amos still there. A guy like was it Benjamin Morrison, if I remember correctly? That's out of out of Notre Dame. Sorry about that.
Yep.
Awesome. This is actually good. I wasn't even thinking about this player. What about Luther
I
Burden?
just saw that. That would be awesome. I would love that.
I like Luther Burden a lot.
He is he's like if Deebo Samuel was good at football still. And also younger.
Is this going to turn into another like Trey Young can't score on you thing? Like, do you think you can defend Deebo Samuel?
In 2025, I'm just blowing him. I think he'd give up. I'm joking. That one I don't think. That one I don't believe. But I like Luther Burden a lot. Let's just say that. I think he's a playmaker he's a type of playmaker that I feel like is rarely available at 40, just in terms of like both what he put on paper and his potential. Obviously, you get past 40 a lot and have these great players, but that's a prototype of a player that doesn't feel like it's at 40 a lot. He'd be awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
Also, I could score on Trey Young.
Oh, now you can score on Trey Young. I'm sorry, I said it the wrong way. It's not that Trey Young can't score on you. It's that you believe you can score on Trey Young.
No, Trey Young, that's his whole thing. Trey Young can score on me easily. He's scoring every time.
Right.
I'm just saying I'm putting up a 3 over his short head. We're the same height.
This is one of the crazy things that has been going on between Dylan and I for many, many, many years, is that he believes he can score on Trey Young, and I think he'd go over 10. I truly do.
What can I say?
Anyway, that's not.
I'm going at least 1 for 10. You're giving me 10 shots. Just so you know, whenever I say I can score on Trey Young, I'm always thinking I get 1 shot.
I think you go 0 for 10, let alone 0 for 1. Like that is simple for me, but whatever. Anyway, I'm curious. The Commanders just submitted their pick. They took Josh Connolly Jr. So that's one of the guys that was expected to potentially go at 9. He ends up going all the way down at 29. Dylan, unless the Saints are trading up at 30, 31, 32, I don't think that they're gonna. I don't know that it's gonna happen. And this is part of my prediction. Kelvin Banks try to trade up, not gonna get there, and everything like that. Just tough. It's tough. It's challenging.
I mean, at the price of what the Rams were able to get from Atlanta at 26, I think I'm good.
I'm like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Because they were I think they were more active in the early to mid 20s, and if that was the price that teams were looking at, I'm good.
Yeah.
Whoa, Ronald.
Ronald coming for you, bro.
Ronald
coming for you, bro.
I trusted you.
I love it. All right, I should probably start my way out. 3 picks left. We've got. We're probably going to get Kellen, maybe even Mickey tonight and everything like that. So let's cut the stream. If they end up trading back in, though, let's do it again, Dylan. We'll just fire up another live and then we'll keep it going. But I got to do these pressers and stuff like that. I got to do the job. job. You know what I mean? And so I don't want to miss out on anything. So we appreciate y'all being here with us as we rally through this and everything. Thanks for hanging out with us even beyond the show and everything. That obviously means a lot. If they trade up, we'll be back tonight. If not, then I'll have a show up in the early afternoon tomorrow, taking a look at where the Saints can go from here. But we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us and everybody being here with us. Means a ton. Hope you're enjoying all the content that's coming from us too. I'm super grateful that Dylan's a part of the channel, everything that we got going on, like really, really great stuff. And then of course, John and Lance will be back Monday morning. I'll probably do a show with John later too. Like there's just a lot on the way.
Yeah. I just want to point out for people that don't know, Saint Squad, is a show that we do live Monday and Thursday mornings at 8 or 9 a.m. depending on the day. And it's me, Ross, and then John Hendricks, the great John Hendricks, newly of NewOrleans.football. Shout out to him. And then New Orleans Saints legend, one of my favorite players growing up, Lance Moore. And Lance, gives great insight into, he's talked about the Saints in the past, playing for Drew Brees. He gives the experience of a player. And I think it is just one of the coolest groups of talents and perspectives that are, especially in New Orleans, but like around the league. Like, I think that we have a very special product. So come hang out with us on Monday and Thursday mornings. It's awesome.
100%. Please come through. We appreciate y'all. We'll see you here soon. Thanks again. Thanks, Dylan, for joining, man. Always a pleasure chopping up with you.
Of course.